from RF-SMART. This is Taking Inventory, a podcast all about better controlling your supply chain and improving inventory management. And now, your host, Sarah Archer.
Welcome back to Taking Inventory, the RF-SMART podcast. My name is Sarah Archer, and I am your host. I have started these introductions for a really long time now by saying that on this podcast, we cover all things supply chain, but that is not entirely true because we have not, to this point, covered shipping. So today we are going to be talking about RF-SMART shipping. We're going to be sharing a little bit about RF-SMART shipping, how it came to be, and some best practices for shipping. I'm joined today by Kevin Gall, who is our shipping product manager. And then I'm also joined by Kayla Hill from Slate Rock FR, who is a customer that has been using RF-SMART shipping. They have actually been using RF-SMART's WMS since 2019. So we're going to share why Slate Rock FR chose to partner with RF-SMART, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So Kevin, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Gall, and I am the product manager for RF-SMART shipping. Before my time here, I actually came from the other side of the aisle in large-scale supply chain operations with a variety of eclectic experiences. And so when I was offered the opportunity to come here and help our customers transform their operations, I couldn't say no. And so I'm excited to be joined here today by Kayla Hill, one of my partners in this endeavor.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I am the warehouse manager at Slate Rock FR. I've been the manager now for a little over 2 years. I was the warehouse lead for about a year, and I started here as a warehouse employee. When I started here, there was just 3 of us working off laptops, and it was wild. And then now today I have about 7 employees. We do in-house embroidery. I love it.
That's awesome, Kayla. Well, we're excited to have you. We're excited to talk about shipping. So our conversation today is really going to be around RF-SMART shipping, about your experience with RF-SMART shipping, Kayla, and Kevin's experience building out this product, getting it implemented, and getting it into the hands of our customers. So Kevin, I guess the best way to start this is just by asking why. Why RF-SMART shipping?
That's a great question, Sarah. So we did all the homework, we did all the research as any responsible product company would. But ultimately, when enough of your customers ask you to do something, to paraphrase one of our leaders, you just do it. And so once we decided that we were going to embark on that journey, we decided a few things. First of all, though, is that we needed our partners. And so, we love our customers deeply. We exist to transform them, right? But this didn't require customers. This required partners. And so there's some pretty clear distinctions between customers and partners. Customers, they value what we do and they value it deeply. Partners want to work with us, though, and they want to wake up and change the world. And so I think I heard from either Kayla or Dave, they said, if RF-SMART is doing this, I'm automatically interested. And so the thing that was interesting to me about the Slate Rock FR team was not only were they curious and open enough to the change, but I was just floored by the amount of bravery they demonstrated to actually execute it and be so nimble. And so I think that was really an exciting moment for me in realizing that I think we had something really special in a mutually beneficial partnership here.
Absolutely. Kevin, in the process when we were creating the very initial phases of this shipping solution, how many customers did you talk with and interview and go on site with to gain insight into what they were doing?
Easily over 100. And it was incredibly impactful to hear from them firsthand what they were interested in. I just simply asked them, what problems do you need help solving? And they were all too willing to come to the table and talk to me about them. And I think that was really the genesis for this. That's really what shaped how we built this product. We didn't go into a dark room and build something shiny. We built something that, based on our customer feedback, would actually solve their problems.
And so you get introduced to Kayla, the Slate Rock FR team. And Kayla, I'm really curious about what was going on at the time that you get approached to be a part of this partnership with RF-SMART. You guys were replacing a shipping solution with RF-SMART shipping. What was going on? What was your experience like?
Yeah, so at the time, we were replacing our shipping solution. We wanted something a little more smooth and give us more information about what we're doing. So we were already using the RF-SMART WMS solution, and we were really happy with how well it was working out for us. Never had to print a paper pick ticket, which I personally love. And receiving was no longer a full-time job. When I started here back in 2017, we were shipping out an average of around $52,000 a week with an app that could handle that. Now we are shipping out around $250,000 a week. So at that time, the company decided to switch to NetSuite. So we were forced to implement a middleware, which also created me to now have to pay an extra fee each month. We did not have to do that before. So it made our shipping process even more slow than it already was. And it really had too many steps for what I was looking for. So when Kevin did come to me asking if we were interested in being a partner, I didn't even give it a second thought. I already knew how amazing the customer service was and how smooth RF-SMART worked. So I was really up for the challenge. I wanted to get our shipping costs down. That was one thing I was really working on. I was determined to make the shipping the easiest process in the warehouse rather than it being the most convoluted and time consuming. So, I mean, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in my warehouse.
Kayla, so some of the things that I heard you say was you had this huge increase in order volume and you're shipping out more than you ever needed to before. And you have a shipping solution that really can't handle it. You mentioned that there were things about it that you didn't love, like you didn't have the reporting that you needed. It was really slow. Right. What were you doing before with your shipping solution?
So before we were having to physically scan in a pick ticket, and most of the time we would have to manually type in an address. It was just awful.
You were manually typing in the address?
Sometimes we would have to, yeah, depending on where it was going. Because with RF-SMART right now, I can rate shop. So at the time, we were kind of having to see what would be the best way to ship it. Is this going to get here fast enough, or should we ship it this way? But with RF-SMART, it gives us all the information we need. It can tell us we can get something out west in 3 days, or we can get it out there for this amount of money. And I can choose how I would like it to go. Or you can set it up and it'll choose it for you. So here at Slate Rock FR, we do have two different business models. We have our outfitter program, then we also have our closeout program, which is a B2B. You can just jump on and buy something and we ship it out to you. And they both have to be shipped differently. Our outfitter program has to be shipped one way and closeouts can be shipped a different way. So it's important for me because a lot of the guys and girls that we ship to have to wear this clothing to get on their job site. So being able to see how many days it's going to get there, it's really saving someone's life, their job, depending on what they're doing and who they're working for. So the shipping solution gave us the opportunity to make sure that somebody is able to work and provide for their family without having to question it.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is a huge deal. And I mean, Kevin, when you set out to develop this shipping software, did you think, yeah, this is going to be helping save people's lives and provide for their families?
Well, it's funny you asked that, Sarah. I mentioned earlier, we exist to transform customers and change lives. I put a lot of thought into that, right? What does that mean? And so this is one of the areas where I thought it was going to be really impactful. I meet people like Kayla, and Kayla had to spend a lot of time on shipping. Even if she wasn't the person shipping, she was taking some of her best people and making them the shippers. They had to be the smartest people in the warehouse. And it was a problem. We kind of like dreamed up a future together where your smartest people are doing things that are more valuable. They're supervising, they're handling inventory inaccuracies, they're managing exceptions. And so, I mean, to me, yeah, that is kind of life-changing. I mean, that it sounds corny, but that matters. And I really believe it matters.
Totally agree. Yeah. And what a beautiful sentiment, right? So thank you so much, Kayla, for sharing that. Something that you said that I really want to circle back to that really led into this was about rate shopping. This is a feature of RF-SMART shipping that I think is one of the things that really gets people excited. So Kevin, would you talk a little bit about the rate shopping within RF-SMART shipping and how that works and why that's important?
Sure. So it's important to understand that we need to match the experience that our customer's brand is promising to their customers with the process you design and the process that the software later automates. So if you promise your customer your order in 2 days, they shouldn't have to care that your warehouse is located in Ohio, right? They shouldn't care if you use FedEx 2-day or UPS Ground or Priority Mail. All they care about is that you get them their product on time. Meanwhile, you've got folks like Kayla who are charged with driving down shipping costs. So how do we take those decisions out of the hands of the shippers? So one of the ways we do that is through what's commonly referred to as rate shopping. But we're doing a lot more than that. So it's not just looking at all the rates and finding the cheapest one. It could be finding the cheapest one that gets it there on time. It could be finding the cheapest one that gets it there on time, but also takes into account some value criteria, or maybe adds a signature for a particular customer, changes billing terms. So we really want to take away all the decisions from the shipper. And from a rate shopping perspective, if you walk into a bunch of different warehouses, you're going to see Post-it notes on PCs. You're going to see old, tattered, laminated sheets of paper taped to the desk. That's the reality. That's what real warehouses look like. And so what we sought to do was to rip off the Post-it notes, to scrape off the old laminated paper, and make all those decisions for the shipper, So yes, it's rate shopping, but I really believe that our goal was a lot larger. And I think with partnership from people like Kayla, I think we achieved that.
We alluded to this earlier, but let's talk about that rules engine, because that is one of the things that our customers love so much. But what does that mean when we talk about this no-code rules engine?
Yeah, so the rules engine is really about eliminating decisions from a shipper. We spend a lot of time talking about carrier decisions, but there's really so much more to it than that. So some of our customers, they may be omni-channel, so they may want to have a wildly different shipper's workflow than for their B2C side of the business. So we can take something and look at a channel indicator and say, okay, for your wholesale channel, we're going to force you to scan each item as it enters the box and give you no other option. We're going to take away your rate shopping capabilities because more often than not for that channel, it's going to be some sort of Ex Works arrangement. It's going to be dictated by the buyer of the goods. Whereas on your B2C side of the business, you're more likely than not owning the shipping. So you're probably wanting to do some rate shopping. Maybe all the scanning and adding items to boxes is not as critical. And so through all these different rules, we can eliminate the decisions from the shipper's perspective. So they don't need to think about whether they need to pack something or not, or whether they need to set third-party billing or not. Nor does the warehouse supervisor need to stay on top of these things as training points. You set up the system once and you're done. If you give people too many decisions to make, it leads to these really nasty versions of perceptual overload. They get fatigued, they make mistakes, you rely on a certain quality of individual, which is not always available to you. There's a lot more to this rules engine than just selecting the right carrier and the right service. That is one of great many powers that it can provide you.
Kayla, what does that mean for your team? Are you guys using any of these no-code rules?
Yeah, we are. So a couple of rules that we use is, I think Kevin touched on one, is the third-party billing. We also have downstairs in our closeout area, we have use the lowest cost shipping. So it chooses it for us. We don't have to decide on it. So our shippers are never in a position where they have to wonder if they're making the right call. They don't have to do that anymore. And upstairs, we are using the ERP ship method. So if a customer wants it shipped UPS, it pulls that for them. If they want it shipped UPS second day air, it just automatically does it.
When I think about our smart shipping, the words that come to mind, the words that we use a lot are fast, configurable, easy to use. And I think that the rate shopping fits into every single one of those categories. It's quickly finding you the best rates. You're able to set some rules, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a moment, where you're configuring the best case scenario to take decisions out of your warehouse workers' hands. And then it's easy to use. You're just simply scanning and you're able to very quickly get the package out. So the question that's probably on everybody's mind while they're listening to this is like, how long does it take to implement? What does implementation look right? You know, like that's the thing that everybody always wants to know is what's this implementation process going to be like? And so Kevin, you have been on site with most, if not all of our customers who have implemented RF-SMART shipping. And I would love to hear a little bit about those experiences and what that is like when you're on site implementing.
So you mentioned fast, configurable, and easy to use. So I realized the North Star is singular, but these were our North Stars, plural, as we went through the process. So if we were designing a feature and it wasn't fast, we threw it out or we made it better. If it wasn't easy to use, not just from the user's perspective, but from the leader's perspective, then we threw it out or redesigned it. Same thing with configurability. So we followed that process along the way, and that really produced not just a use experience, but also an implementation experience that's delightful by contrast to some of the other options out there. So with Kayla and her team at Slate Rock FR, we had all of our lead up calls. We all agreed on what we were going to do. And then when it came time to get on site, we started by listening and looking and observing. And so Kayla and I spent time in her warehouse. So before we ever presumed to think how we would implement RF-SMART shipping, we needed to understand the whole picture. And so through doing that, I think we ended up with a much better end result. And so once it was time to get to shipping, Kayla and I worked together on ruthlessly identifying different processes and setting things up such that not only enforce, but enhance their process. And so some of the things that we did together, we reconfigured the shipping station. We walked through all the setup together. I let her drive. And so after, I think we spent 2 days together, they were fully live with a very different experience than what they had started with. And, we were off to the beginnings of a fantastic partnership.
So I heard you kind of allude to some best practices in that of reconfiguring your shipping station, some things like that. For those listening today, they may not be using RF-SMART shipping. And I want to be able to provide them with takeaways as well for things that they can do to make sure their shipping process goes really well. What are some of those best practices?
So I prepared two that I think are the most impactful. And I realize that only some of these are software enabled, but we're here to help too. So first off, you need to ruthlessly design a process before you can even think about implementing it. And once you've implemented it, then and only then can you think about automating it. Really cannot automate your way out of a bad process or a lack thereof. So you really need to start there, and I promise you'll reap the rewards. And so once you standardize that process, then you look to your software provider and start figuring out how you can set up rules and workflows and things to automate that process in a way that, as I mentioned earlier, not just enforces, but actually enhances your business process. And the second thing that I think is really important is setting up the workstation for success. So by the time that the order gets to the shipping station, you've got usually a person there that's ready to pack up and ship this order. And so one of the things that I find most impactful in my experience is you've got to 5S the mess. You know, I mentioned earlier, you've got Post-it notes, you've got these laminated sheets, you've got stacks of scissors and razor blades and who knows whatever else. You want to set your station up in such a way that your shipper has everything that he or she needs, no more, no less, and all in the right place. And also, you know, ergonomics matter. So by making a more ergonomically attractive station, you're going to reduce the waste by doing your motion studies, by setting the station up in a way that helps with your throughput. And so, again, you'll get some pushback on this as a valuable effort. Well, you know, we don't have in the budget to buy anti-fatigue mats. Well, okay, how about your loss in productivity over time from standing fatigue? Or how about the dissatisfaction of the person who has to stand there all day? You can make the time and you can make it happen. A new station perhaps is too expensive. Well, how about a soft tissue injury? Those are more expensive, I can promise. And so once you've set up your station, once you set it up in a way that's ergonomic and efficient, again, then you work with your software provider to set up your workflow in the software to match the way that is most physically efficient at the station.
So, Kayla, what are some of the things that you all are doing? What was from your implementation that you took away as these are really best practices we want to keep continuing as we use RF-SMART shipping?
Well, scanning through the entire process is huge for me. You can grab anybody from your warehouse and just say, here, ship this, and they can do it. I mean, it's fully right in front of you, and you just literally scan a couple barcodes, and next thing you know, labels printed out with your packing slip. Personally, I have a warehouse where I don't have a high turnover rate. I have people that have been with me for a couple years, but I know there are some warehouses out there that have that type of like high turnover rate. So RF-SMART is great in a way that you can just train somebody within a couple minutes on this. It's not something you're going to spend a whole day on. There's not really anything to question. It's all right there in front of you.
Keela, something that stood out to me when you're talking about it's essentially foolproof, right? I know that you saw some great results when you switched from your previous solution to RF-SMART shipping. Can you share some of those results with us?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When we switched to the RF-SMART and I was able to now rate shop, I was able to reduce our cost per label by $4. We were shipping our packages and they were costing us around $17 per label. Our customers only paying $10 for shipping. So we were losing money, a ton of money. Now we are saving around $4,000 a week just by switching and being able to rate shop. So that does huge things for my warehouse. I'm able to now hire somebody else if I need to for my embroidery department. I can give raises, I can give bonuses just by not having to hire a ton of people. That also doesn't include like the surcharges that I'm saving, which is huge. I was getting hammered with surcharges and address corrections and being able to use the post office, not just UPS. I'm able to ship stuff more residential and more rural. So that helps a lot too. I can add a second job function to my shipper's day now, allowing me to get more done. And we've reduced our shipping cost in half. I remember Kevin was here and I don't even know, it took me like a minute and 30 to ship a package and he timed me and it was down to 30 seconds and we got it out the door. So I'm able to do so much more other places in my warehouse. And I just know that shipping is taken care of and I don't have to worry about it. So as a manager, I think that's great. And my employees needs it.
So I'm hearing improved productivity, being able to incentivize your employees to do a great job, which is something that I think is so important because you talked about your customers are number one to you guys and making sure that they have the equipment that they need to be able to effectively do their job and how impactful that is on your working life. But then also the people who are right there working alongside you, being able to provide incentives and opportunities for them. I think that's really great. For those of you who are bad at math, I certainly am. So I did this on a calculator. If you're saving $4,000 a week, that's $208,000 a year. That's insane.
Quite a bit.
That's multiple people's salaries. So Kevin, from your perspective, what are some of the other results? I mean, Kayla mentioned a full gamut of results that our customers are seeing, but what are some of the things that you've seen as you've implemented RF-SMART shipping?
So one of the things I thought was pretty cool was it's kind of like Kayla's experience here. My friend Leo, who works with a company called Gumps, sell just some of the most exquisite gifting items you could possibly fathom. But Leo himself, for example, not unlike Kayla, was having to spend a lot of time in the shipping process. And so getting someone like that out of the shipping process is impactful. And again, it's not just about the amount of time a shipper is spending. You also have to ask yourself who the shipper is. And again, I know I keep harping on this point, but in most cases, warehouse leaders they've got some scars. And so now the smartest people in the warehouse tend to be the shippers. And that's problematic. And I've seen a lot of results where we've been able to reverse that nasty little paradigm for them.
So guys, as we wrap up today, I'm interested to just hear from each of you what your recommendations are for people who might be evaluating RF-SMART shipping. So Kayla, I'll let you go first. What are your recommendations?
I recommend using RF-SMART shipping. I'm not going to lie, as someone who lives by the KISS method. If you manage a warehouse and you work in one, there's going to always be something you have to send to, whether it be receiving, picking, cycle counting, returns, or in my case now embroidery. Knowing that the shipping is handled and we're getting the best value with each shipment is one less thing I have to worry about.
That's wonderful. Yeah. One less thing you have to worry about. We all have so many things we have to worry about right now, Right. And so just one less thing that's on your mind. Kevin, take us home. Why should people choose RF-SMART shipping? Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, I have spent considerable time thinking, how can we possibly make something like shipping software live up to frankly, a really bold value about changing someone's life. But helping someone like Kayla pay out a bonus, that's changing a lot. That's changing many lives. Helping our customers like Features, you'll share that video link below, ship more out of their warehouse with fewer people than they ever have before, that's changing lives. Helping my friend Leo contribute to his organization at a higher level, that's changing a life. Helping any business owner compete independently in this new age of Amazon by providing them enterprise-grade shipping automation is changing a life. And so I think we've really achieved that here, and we've done it through partnerships like that which we have with Slate Rock FR, Kayla and her team. So I think we've changed a lot of lives here, so let us help change yours.
Beautifully said, Kevin. And Kayla, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing a little bit of your story. Kevin, thanks for joining. If you're interested in learning more about RF-SMART shipping, I'm going to leave the link below where you can check out some of our great things like our case study, our videos, or see a demo of RF-SMART shipping. We'd love to get you involved. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you can email info@rfsmart.com. Before we go, make sure you subscribe so you get notifications every time we drop a great new podcast just like this one. You can subscribe anywhere that podcasts are available, like Apple Podcasts, Google, or Spotify. And I just want to thank our guests again so much for being here today, and we will see you all again soon. Thank you.